You've been programmed to be distracted. You've been programmed to look at entertainment. You've been programmed to kind of feed into what the world is doing. Now you have to unprogram yourself. You have to unlearn and relearn new information. That's why I give you guys the messages over and over again, is because we've been programmed in a certain way. And so the only way to unlearn that is to hear a different message over and over again to kind of brainwash ourselves or reprogram ourselves differently. So a lot of this stuff you've heard, success leaves clues. How many times have I told y'all that? Success leaves clues. Find a millionaire, do as he does, you will have what he has. That's what Napoleon Hill says in Think and Grow Rich. Doesn't mean you find, it just means find someone successful, figure out what they're doing, and copy what they're doing. Tony Robbins made a joke about Jim Rohn saying, like, find out what poor people are reading and don't read that, right? Because literally you'll get what they have. But that's something to pay attention to, because does the average poor-minded person, poverty-minded person do? They spend their time entertaining themselves. They spend their time in social media. They spend their time in TV. They spend their time in gossip. They spend their time talking about people. Like, that's where they spend their time. So if you don't want to be that, do the opposite of what they're doing. Literally, do the opposite of what they're doing. And that'll give you a completely different result. It's huge. It's a small, subtle thing, but we copy the people around us. So oftentimes we become that. That's why we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with, right? Where your focus goes, energy flows. Where your focus goes, energy flows. Again, you've heard these sayings, but how much of it are you comprehending and actually doing? What are you still giving your focus to? What are you giving your focus to? Where are your thoughts going on a daily basis? Whatever you're giving your focus to, that's where your energy is going to go. That's what you're going to get more of. So I recommend you start focusing on the things you do want and not the things you don't want. Say that again. You got to start focusing on the things that you do want and stop focusing on the things you don't want, because your brain doesn't know the difference. If you're focusing on a lack, the problems, how to overcome something, if you're constantly thinking about that, you'll get more of that. In the financial world, we talk a lot about this. And again, it happens all the time. People that are in debt and their number one focus is to get out of debt. They do all these things thinking about debt. Guess what? They typically stay in debt more. Versus if you thought about building wealth. Now, obviously, you can't have a ton of consumer debt and try to build wealth. So, but if you're focused on the building wealth part, if you're focused on the improving your cash flow part, if that's what you're focused on, that you'll find a way to manage and get rid of the debt. But if you're focused on the debt, if your energy flows there, you'll get more of it. People that often get out of debt get back into debt all the time. Why? Because where their focus goes, their energy flows. It's really, really important. Clarity is power. Clarity is power. How much have I told you? You need to make sure that you are what? Writing down your vision, your goals, and you are clear on it. If you are not clear on where you're going, it's likely you won't get there. If you're not clear on what the destination is, it's likely you're not going to get there. If you jump in a car with no GPS and no destination, you're likely not going to end up anywhere. You're just going to drive, right? So that's the same thing in our life. We got to make sure that we are clear about where we're going. And then the thing I wanted to dive into was one of the things that he talked about outside of having grace, right? That gratitude part, that spiritual part, that really is the thing that gets you rolling, that pulls it all together and says, hey, I know there's something bigger than me, above me, right? Beyond me, that is helping me and allowing me to live this life. That part is important to recognize, to understand, whether you call it God or spirituality or whatever it is, right? Like there's something above you that is allowing you to do the things that you're doing, that you've been born at this time, that you have this, these relationships and these resources. So that's important. But here's a big thing it says in the text, right? That we got to have a role model. You got to have somebody that you're modeling. Tony Robbins said, first, once you get some focus on what you want, then you have to take massive action. He said that massive action also, right, has to have effective execution, right? More of the same equals more of the same. Here's a saying we used to always say, right? The definition of insanity. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. That's the definition of you being insane. If you're like, I just been doing the same thing, but I'm expecting to do something different. I've been eating the same way my whole life, but I expect my health to get better. I've been doing the same things with my money my whole life, but I expect to be a millionaire. Like that's insanity. Doing the same thing over, expecting a different result. So you have to have effective execution. After you're focused on something, then you take massive action and have that effective execution. And obviously, right, the thing that he said catapults that. The thing that pushes that forward faster is you modeling somebody. You modeling somebody. We don't do this enough in our society, whether it's from pride, whether it's ego, whether it's right, we just lack humility, whether it's fear because we don't know who to reach out to, whatever the case is. But mentorship, role models, copying people that have already done what you're trying to do is the fast track to getting to your goals. It's the fast track. It's somebody has already carved the path for you. And instead of you going all through the woods and through the wilderness and chopping down trees to try to get to the exact same point, just take their road and go right behind them, and you're going to be able to get there a lot faster. In their text, 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class, it says champions learn from role models. Champions learn from role models. It says one of the best kept secrets of the world class is their ability to use other people's thoughts, ideas, habits, and traits as a way to accelerate their own journey to the top. They are savvy enough to know none of us will live long enough to learn all the wisdom of the world from our own experience. Instead, they choose role models who are champions in their field and learn everything they can from these people. They approach their role models with a beginner's mindset and a humble attitude. This tends to be one of the biggest differences between the upper class and the world class. It's humility. The upper class tends to be ego driven and have a high need for wealth and power. Would be mentors and role models can easily be dissuaded from helping brash, cocky performers with out of control egos. The world class has supreme self confidence only expressed in words to themselves. Excuse me. This inner arrogance is rarely expressed outside of their own self talk. The great ones are able to maintain a spirit of humility and gratitude that spills over from the inside out and covers them with warm, loving glow. This phenomenon rockets their rate of vibration to the world class level. This creates a magnetic attraction others find hard to resist. Role models and mentors love to help performers with this mindset, and their guidance and advice catapult performers years ahead of their ego-driven competition. Who are you modeling? Who are you modeling? Who's helping you catapult your ability to the next level just by modeling what they do, modeling their thoughts, ideas, habits, and traits? If you focus on this, ladies and gentlemen, this is what changes your life in all the areas. Again, success leaves clues. If you need help in your relationship, go find the people that have been in relationships for a long time and are further down that path than you. They can give you thoughts, ideas, habits, and traits that will help you get there faster versus you trying to figure it out yourself. If you know someone that's a successful entrepreneur and you are trying to start a business, why don't you go get mentorship from them? Why? Because they're going to give you thoughts, ideas, habits, and traits that are going to help you move faster through that process versus you trying to figure it out yourself. Same thing in your health, same thing in your financial life, same thing in your spiritual life. Whatever areas you want to be successful in, you will get there faster if you have someone or a group of people that help you catapult you to that place. That's it. Again, I don't know why we do that, why we don't do this. Some people say, "Oh, I don't have mentors around me." Well, guess what? There's a thing called a book, right? And people write all this information in books. And guess what? Most books are free at a place called the library. So you don't even need money, right? You just need to go find the books of the people that you're headed down their path. That's the first place to start. If you don't have the actual human beings in your life, which if you're thinking about it, if you're focused on it, you'll find them. Back to the reticular activating system. If your number one dominant thought is, I need a mentor, I need to get around someone that knows this or knows that, you're going to start seeing it, hearing it. You're going to start sitting at tables, being at places, and you're going to hear someone that's talking about or doing what you want to do. Now it's your ability to have courage, because that's what it takes, courage to go to that person humbly and say, hey, I heard what you're talking about. Man, I could use some help in this area. There's a mentor mentee relationship. We don't have time to get into that today, but maybe you should, right? Maybe we talk about the mentor mentee relationship. The mentor, the role model always wants the mentee only if it's a two-way street. They add value. They do the things that they're told to do. They follow at the speed of instruction. There's not a lot of pushback because you're coming in with a childlike mindset, humbly to say, I don't know all these things. So whatever you tell me as my mentor, as my role model, I'm going to focus on doing that. That's your part as the mentee. If your mentor tells you to do some things or suggests some things and then you don't do it, you really don't want the mentorship because it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be, right, difficult. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to follow that mentor's lead. So again, I don't know why we don't, but probably there's some fear. There's probably some courage issues there. If you don't have a human in your life, you need to go get some books. I was talking to a kid. He said he wanted to start a shoe brand at one point, whether it was a bowling shoe or some other type of shoe. And I was like, hey, did you ever read what's it called? Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, right? Shoe Dog, I think that's what it's called. It's the story of Nike, right? But it's Phil Knight, the guy that started Nike, his entire story of how he got it going. And I was like, I'm curious. You say you want to go do this. You've never read the book of like the most successful shoe brand in the world? Like, you never even thought about picking up that book to get a little bit of insight, to have a role model, a blueprint of some of the things that you might have to go through? You never even thought of that? You're just going to go at it yourself? You want to start a clothing brand and you never read one of Damon John's books? You never read The Power of Broke? You never read, he has another one, can't think of it, right? But, right, he built FUBU. He had a successful clothing brand. He's all over. Like, you wouldn't pick up information from him because he's successful? These are the things. These are the things we got to focus on if we want to get our lives, take our lives to the next level, y'all. Steve Siebold here says, set a goal not only to follow world-class role models, but to become a world-class role model. Action step for today says, identify the most important thing that you are trying to accomplish in the next 90 days. Clarity, right? Identify the most important thing you're trying to accomplish in the next 90 days. That's clarity. And select a role model who has already done it. Select somebody that's already done that thing. Learn everything you can about this person, but most of all, their thought process. Why? Because if we change our thinking, we change our life. It says, when you have this information, pretend you are them with all the confidence and self-assurance of someone who's already succeeded at the task you want to achieve. This technique is the mental equivalent of Clark Kent going into the phone booth and changing into Superman. It's a fairly common practice. The world class, when they're searching for a strategic advantage, especially under pressure. That's your job today, ladies and gentlemen. If there are things that you want to get to, if there's a place you want to get to, go find someone that's already done it. Go find somebody that's already done it. Go find somebody that's already 5 years, 7 years, 10 years ahead. They're going to give you the blueprint. They're going to tell you, hey, this is how I did this. If you follow that, you build a mentor-mentee relationship. You have a role model. It'll get you to your goals faster. Have some clarity. Focus on what you want more than anything, not what you don't want. Find some role models, some people that have already done it. Success leaves clues. And then just know that you have to be grateful for all the things that you've been given. You got to be grateful for all the things that God has blessed you with. You have the talents, you have the abilities, you have the resources. We live in a time that, man, we have the internet. I don't know if you guys know that that's a game changer, but it's a game changer when you have the internet and you have all this information at your fingertips. You have the ability to communicate with people you would never see in your day to day. That is such a game changer. You got to take advantage of it, y'all. I love you guys. I want you to win. I'm trying to give you the things you need to win. These are the things you put into your mind and then you go apply them. Go apply. Go find a role model today. Go reach out. Go humble yourself. Go ask for help from somebody that you know is already doing it. And guess what? This process takes some time. It's like finding a doctor. You don't find normally your first doctor, you're like, they're okay. But you have to find the doctor. You have to find the therapist. It takes some time. The mentor is not the first person you meet. It could be, but typically it's not. Normally, you have to have some courage to keep going through some people before you find the person that can really catapult you to where you want to go. But it's out there and it's possible. You guys just got to go get it. All right. Love you guys. Enjoy your Wednesday. There's no such thing as hump day. Always remember that. Hump day is for people that don't like 5 days and like 2 days. That's not us. We like all the days. Go out and do something special today that your future self will thank you for. Take care. I'll see you guys Friday.